Good evening, everybody. Got a short story tonight about 211, so here we go. I'm going to go straight to the point. It's late. I just worked all day long, burnt out. I don't even know if anybody's awake right now, but this story just popped into my head. This is one of the stories I remember about the 211 crew, which is a gang here in Colorado. I know a lot of them, cool dudes, really cool dude. Like there was a certain level of solidness involved with them, right? Like you didn't have to worry about these dudes telling on you at all, right? Like like even the ones that they said were no good, Jordan, what up? Even the ones that they said were no good were still solid. That's like they never told, right? Like they bashed some of these dudes out, but it'd be like because they were messing with the homosexuals or something like that. Like they broke a rule, something like that. But here we go. I wrote me a little bit of a script down, but I remember all this. Okay. So this is one of the times I ended myself up in CSP. This is around 2007. CSP is Colorado State Penitentiary. It is a level 5 maximum security. It is similar to ADX. You have no human contact. Basically, the only contact that you have is whenever the officers come with gloves and handcuff you to transport you to the shower or to the recreation area or possibly to the law library if like you have some business in the law library. I got there because me and the homeboy were running parlay tickets. If anybody knows what parlay tickets are, so you have to pick 3 or 4 or 5 teams that cover the spread, right? And like if you hit 3 teams, or no, I think the minimum was 4. You had to hit a minimum of 4 to even win. You got to pick 4 teams that cover the spread, and then it pays out like 7-1. If you pick 5 teams, it pays out 11-1. And then all the way up, I think if you picked like 10 teams, it was paying out like 50-1 or something like that. Right? I don't remember. I was basically the runner at the time, is what I would do. I would just run the parlay tickets. The homie was the one running the situation. I was just kind of the mule, and we would share in the profits. You know what I mean? Homeboy would break me off. So I was already doing this, and the cops were on me. They were not happy about the situation anyway. But that's not what really got me. What got me was we had figured out a way to get dope into the prison. This is in Lyman Correctional Center, which is a level 4 out here in Colorado, a level 4 prison yard. So, man, my nose itches bad. I need to rip the hairs out of my nose. I lost my pair of tweezers. I moved rooms in my house, and I lost my pair of tweezers, and they're killing me. So, anyway, they end up raiding my house. Somehow or another, they figure out that we're getting dope, and they raid my house in the middle of the night. Whenever they raid my house, I jump up and I try to flush my fit. I have a syringe. That's all I have at the time. I didn't have any dope on me. All I had was a syringe. So I jump up and I throw it in the toilet. Like the cop's looking at me. He's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I throw it in the toilet. And I went to flush the toilet, and they had turned the water off. They had gotten into the water well that was in the side of the thing. Not the well. It's not called a well. I don't know exactly what it's called, but you get what I'm saying. They turned the water off, right? So the toilet won't flush. So I'm stuck. Now it's sitting there floating. You can see it floating in the toilet. There's a syringe floating in the toilet. Cop picks it up. Okay, cuff up. So they cuff me up, right? Well, what I end up getting busted with is this syringe, and I get busted with a bunch of tickets and stuff like that. But they had gotten a hold of a package, I think, or something like that. I think they intercepted a package, and they were trying to pin it on me. And so whenever they took me to the what's it called, the COPD hearing for the syringe, I go down to the. I need to, this thing's making a bunch of noise. I need to stop messing with it. I know the story. I write it down anyway to try to help myself, but I know the story, right? So I go to my COPD hearing, which is Code of Penal Discipline hearing, and I still remember Lieutenant Joffe was her name. She says, well, you know, what about this and what about that? I said, ma'am, I said, with all due respect, because I did respect Joffe. Joffe was a straight shooter. She was actually a cool cop. And I was like, with all due respect, I'm just going to remain quiet on this one. And like I said, this involved like dope being introduced into the facility. And she was like, yeah, that's probably your best bet. You know what I mean? That's probably your best bet. I said, okay, so what's the deal? She said, well, I'm going to find you guilty because it was clearly your syringe that you tried to flush down the toilet. So I'm going to find you guilty of that, and I'm going to give you 20 days. 20 days in the hole. Okay, cool. No big deal. They shoot me to the hole. On my 19th day, or maybe my 15th day, they hit me with administrative segregation papers. And I don't even remember. It was just for the syringe, because that's all they could convict me of was the syringe. That's all they had. But they were not happy about the fact that they had some dope in their hands that they couldn't pin on anybody. There was like nobody was saying nothing. They jumped the gun. The package was coming in, and instead of letting me get the package and then busting me with the package, they jumped the gun, intercepted the package, and then raided my house. Well, if the new package is coming, we ain't got nothing left, dog. All that shit's gone. All you found was an empty syringe, right? So they're pissed. Basically, they're pissed. They got a handful of dope. They can't pin it on anybody, and so I end up being the asshole. This isn't even the last time I got ADSEG. I think this is the third time I got ADSEG and sent to solitary confinement. And for that, for some parlay tickets and a syringe, and because they didn't have anybody to charge with this dope, so it pissed them off. So they send me to CSP, to the penitentiary. When I get there, there's a 211 cat named Raymond Kane. They can go for that much. Syringes can go for that much, but we actually stole a whole box of them. Whenever I was in Walsenburg, we didn't actually. My homeboy Blizz did. That's what I should say. The homeboy Blizz stole a whole box of them, and that was like one of my ace deuces. That was my everyday dude, so he just gave me like a handful of them. So I just had a bunch. TNT, how you doing? So I get over there with this dude, Raymond Kane, who ends up being one of the 211 dudes. I don't know if he's a general. He never told me nothing about being a general, but they sure say he is on the thing. That's not how he introduced himself. He was like, "Hey, I'm Raymond. I'm the tier porter." You know what I mean? But the what's called the news. The news says he's a general, and the news moved him states. He's one of the dudes that they sent out of state, right? So I used to talk to this dude all the time. Now, you could probably clear this up, and you can tell me whether or not I've got the people right or not on this. I'm going to tell the story. But so here's what he told me. He said that Evan, the man who ended up dying in a shootout with the police in Texas and who killed the director of the Bureau of Prisons for Colorado, he was going at it with this cop. They kept talking shit to each other, right? So every time he would take him to the shower, he'd have to, because the cops have to come cuff you up, take you to the shower. So every day they'd be jawing at each other, talking shit to each other. And so Evan tells him, "Hey, homie, if you're about it, leave the handcuff off, right? And we'll get busy. We'll see what's up, right?" So the cop calls his bluff. The cop says, "Okay, cool." Cop leaves one of the handcuffs off, Evan lights him up, right? Drills him, busts him pretty good. The cops work him. They work him good. Well, the story is the dude Bones, 211 Bones, if I'm remembering right, is in the same pod. And he's watching it happen, right? And apparently they took it farther than they should have. Like he rocked this cop in his nose pretty good, from what I hear. Like the cop's nose, maybe not broken, but it was bloody, bad. But the cops are putting the boots to him, just stomping the shit out of him. And this fool Bones is going off in the other cell. He's watching it happen. He's watching these cops stomp him out. Now, I don't know what the timeline is. I don't remember if we ever discussed like the timeline. If this happened the next day, if this happened 2 weeks later or a month later, I don't know whenever it happened. But the story goes, 211 Bones gets his razor early in the morning for shaving, takes it into his cell, and busts the razor open. Well, what they do is they give you the razor, and then they do all the morning activities, right? You get your food, you know what I mean? You wake up and do whatever the morning stuff is. And then they come back around afterwards, and they come back for the razor. They come back for the tray, and they come back for the razor at the same time. So Bones busts his razor blade open, and he's got it tied up in some sort of way. You know what I mean? He's got him something to slice with. And he waits for the cop to come by and stick their hand. It may have even been a female. I kind of seems like that's what was in my head, but I could be wrong on that. But that seems like it's in my head that there was a female. And maybe that's just happened to be bad luck. I don't know. I could be wrong on that. I'm not a positive on that. But he waits for the cop to come. I'll just say the cop puts their hand in the slot to take his tray, and that fool reaches out and grabs the cop's arm and pulls it in to yanks the arm into the cell and starts slicing, right? Now, didn't kill anybody or anything like that, but that's some vicious shit. As long as I was in prison, I ain't never thought of doing no shit like that to the cops. Like, I could see getting in a fight with one or something like that, but that fool was, he was about his shit. He was not happy, is what they said. This fool was not happy that he watched his homeboy get stomped out. What do you think? Evan cracked dude's skull. Oh, so he did. So he got him worse than that? Worse than I heard? I heard he busted his nose. Something like that. They said, I don't know if it was broke, but they said he busted his nose. But they stomped that fool out. But I remember what's his name telling the story though, like 3 or 4 times. Because okay, so I come into the pod. This is how CSP works, right? I come into the pod and get to telling everybody, or get to talking to everybody, and they'll tell me stories. If they're good, cool with me, they'll tell me a story. Oh, hey, me and the dude Raymond hit it off a little bit. He tells me the story about Evan, whatever. Well, somebody else comes into the pod a week later, and he's cool with them too. He'd be telling the story with them, and everybody can hear everybody's conversations. You can't really, he was the only one who could be out in the pod. So he was the porter. He was checking people's paperwork. You'd have to check it through the thing. It was funny. I was like, yeah, homie, here you go. And I slid it under the door, and he slid it right back. He's like, you're going to get me in trouble, dog. You got to keep that shit. Hey, Anna. Yeah, I don't know. That's what I got. I didn't know that dude Bones. I never met that dude Bones. I don't know him. But I remember hearing this story like 4 or 5 times because new people would keep coming into the pod, and he would tell the story. You know what I mean? He would want to tell the story again to the new people. So I remembered the story. He got street charges. I have his plea agreement. Who, Evan? So there's some truth to what I'm saying. There's some truth to this. I watched that fool zombie sock that cop up too. That was tight. So that's my story about 211. Just a short story. I don't know why